Welcome everybody. Today we have the winners of last year's Climate Investment Challenge with us, and we will be talking to them. This is the team that won the prize in 2020, and now as we're approaching this year's competition, we want to give you a little idea of what is a great team, what their idea was, what they're doing now. And for that, I want to pass the microphone to my friend and coworker, Guy, who will be running this interview. Guy, all yours.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Rafa, and welcome to Momi and Jeff. Welcome back. It's great to have you joining the Climate Investment Challenge again. Firstly, I think it'd be great to get an idea of who you are, where you've come from, and what you were studying at the time of doing the Climate Investment Challenge. So, Tomomi, if you'd like to start us off, that would be great.
Okay, so I'm Tomomi from Tokyo, Japan, and I studied MBA in Cambridge from 2019 to 2020. And prior to MBA, I worked in UNDP and I was promoting sustainable development goals. So that's why I was interested in joining this competition. And I really had amazing team and an amazing experience. And finally we won. So it was a great experience in terms of learning and also in terms of like improving our leadership skill and improving our knowledge of climate change. So
fantastic. Thank you very much, Tomomi. And Jeff, what's your background? What brought you to the Climate Investment Challenge?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Canada, and then I moved to London to work on kind of sustainable buildings. So I was designing some of the most sustainable buildings within the UK. But then I saw a big discrepancy between what was being designed on site and what the full potential was. And that's something that I took to the MBA at Cambridge. Where I kind of met the team and we started coming up with ideas. And the competition, I think, was really good because it got an opportunity to explore how we can deal with these issues that I was kind of playing with earlier on at a financial level. And that's kind of how that storyline came to be.
Nice, fantastic. And how did you actually come up with the idea? Perhaps Tomomi, if you'd like to answer that question.
Well, actually, the original idea is from Jeff.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
well, Jeff,
so maybe Jeff, you can start.
Yeah, so it kind of stems from my background. And I think, I was really looking at, okay, how do I could see as a designer that these materials, timber, was capable of doing a lot more. And, when I was talking to our clients, I knew that potential was really there, but it wasn't necessarily getting through the value chain, I felt, fast enough. And so I had this kind of set of knowledge that I was discussing with Tomomi. We kind of, we're having drinks one night and it came up in a conversation. And I don't think on my own I was necessarily able to position it as a proposition, but with their insights and their background, we were able to kind of pull it into something that we felt would really work. And that's kind of where the idea came from, around a sustainable timber REIT.
Nice. And just for perhaps some of our audience might not know what a sustainable timber REIT is. So would you mind just briefly explaining and expanding on what that is?
Yeah, so a real estate investment trust is a REIT, and our sustainable timber part is really kind of our angle on a very kind of typical financial instrument that's used within the real estate sector. Typically, it's used in, let's say, you're investing in kind of the commercial buildings or residential or industrial, etc. But what we wanted to do was really focus on the material. So the REIT would be used to invest in timber-specific buildings, and then this was going to be used a momentum around that more sustainable investment of that kind of building early on within the kind of value chain. So that was the angle that we were taking.
Nice, that's fantastic, and I think it's quite clear how your background obviously led to the idea, Jeff. But you mentioned that you couldn't have done it without Tomomi. So Tomomi, how did your background help you with the Climate Investment Challenge and help contribute to your team?
Okay, thank you very much. So one fun fact is we started from the college bar. So we were just like drinking, and I was like, yeah. Yeah, and actually, like I found this competition. I said like, yeah, I wanna join. I wanna do this competition. Jeff said like, yeah, I have some idea. Like, yeah, do you want like? And he said like, yeah, I'm gonna pitch. And so before MBA, I was helping a lot of companies for sustainability. So I was like, I knew that like where the problem is, and my role was like how to connect with idea and actually global agenda such as climate change. So I knew that the problem is, and I was also before UNDP I worked in the marketing and like advertisement area. So I knew how to how to say like storytelling, how to connect the ideas and the people, and also we invited one or two other Thai finance girls. They are finance girls, so also that's why like they helped us really much to actually compose all the ideas together, and having lead would be a great idea. So my role was like connecting and also connecting with a larger agenda, and other two Thai girls were helping us to actually calculating all the financial proposals.
Fantastic, thank you. And unfortunately, this year we find ourselves in the position of yet again being in lockdown. So those all important drinks at the bar that spark these fruitful ideas and amazing innovations seem to be few and far between. So what advice would you have for applicants this year who are perhaps trying to put a team together, or trying to think of an idea but can't share that beer with one another at the bar? What advice do you have for those people?
I can go there. So I would say really look at, well, one, I would say, have conversations with people, whether it's a quick coffee chat with somebody that's kind of in your program or that you think would be interested. And if you have that idea, kind of just put it out there and see what kind of traction happens. And the second would be maybe thinking about how the different pieces fit together. So that kind of happened maybe organically between Tomomi and I when we were having that conversation, but then Tomomi went out and kind of found these other people who kind of fit the kind of whole puzzle together. So part of it was organic, but the other part was intentional. So you can really do this, and I think maybe it being a bit more intentional early on will be needed for the online version of this.
Nice. And how was the Climate Investment Challenge experience for you overall, and your team as well?
Tomomi, do you want
to? I think like we were not really, how to say, too serious in a good way. So we really enjoyed, which is like really important. And also like I was not from finance, but I learned a lot through this one. So it's like really, really good learning experience. And by doing competition, it's not just you talk, you really need to work on it. So which is also like really important, because like I know there's so many people who are interested in like climate change, and maybe they have some idea, but they will not materialize without doing this kind of competition. So like competition is great opportunity to actually come up with not only come up with the idea, but also deep into more about details and how you can actually make the idea real. So I think that was like a great opportunity for us. And also like, so we were lucky that we had Jeff, because he's like really technical. He knows the problem, but also sometimes he was like really technical, and then big far from the climate, like how to address climate change. So it was great to have like people who's from finance, I'm from like marketing, and also like storytelling, and we just, how to say, get together from like different expertise and different experience. But like competition works really well in terms of like connecting and doing things happen, like making things happen.
That's fantastic to hear. And a lot of the questions we get are, do you have to have a finance background, or do you have to be mathematical, or come from that sort of analytical background? And the answer is absolutely no. So if you're listening to this and you don't have a finance background, please don't be put off from applying.
Yeah.
We do get applications from all sorts of backgrounds, whether that's biology, policy, conservation, finance, engineering, everything. So if you're lacking that expertise, then perhaps look to find a team member that has those skills that can plug that gap for your team. So thank you for that
I can add one more, because of online, maybe you can reach out to people who lives in different countries, and you can team together, or like any specialist, like climate specialist. Maybe you can try to reach out to them on LinkedIn. Maybe they can have like 15 minutes, 30 minutes talk. Although like if it's like real life, like it's hard to meet them, but maybe they have more time.
No, that's right. And actually what's unique about the competition this year is that we're opening up to multi-university teams. So you don't just have to enter from one university. You can team up with someone from Oxford if you're from Cambridge, or from LSE to Edinburgh. So that's something to bear in mind as well. I think people also...
I would just highlight, Guy, just quickly on that topic, you know, when you are thinking about your proposition, if you are coming in with like a team that's not overly finance heavy, then maybe think about doing something a bit more traditional with the financial side of things, but then really propping up that that angle on the creativity around what you're proposing in terms of impact or whichever. So I don't think, from our experience, we could necessarily like if the REIT itself wasn't necessarily a unique, right? But we were trying to use that in a unique way to create that impact. And so that meant that we didn't necessarily need to have sort of a huge financial proposition, but we really needed to make it work within the context of what we were doing. So
that's great advice as well. Thank you very much for that, Jeff. I think a lot of people want to know what's happened with the idea since you've won. Have you managed to take it anywhere, or have you had any discussions about bringing it forward?
Yeah, so it turns out that starting a REIT is tricky. It requires a lot of capital. So we did have some discussions, and there was certainly some interest. Some people reached out to us, and it didn't, at the moment, it hasn't gone as far as we kind of hoped. So it was certainly still a learning experience for us. We've been kind of thinking about how we make it a bit more realistic to kind of our capabilities, because we're not necessarily, we don't have experience with REITs themselves, and how we can collaborate, and how we present it more as a like a partnership. So bringing it to the market, and then you can potentially come in and pull those different buildings together to create this product, and those kind of angles. But those are the things that we're still exploring.
Nice, that's interesting to hear. And I think we do have other examples of groups that have managed to take forward ideas. So I think Rafa, you were saying there's a group in Mexico that have managed to attract some funding for their idea as well, which is really exciting. So it is something that you can bring forward. Awesome. And if it is something that you're wanting to take further, the Climate Investment Challenge obviously has lots of great connections in the form of the judging panel, and through Imperial College as well, and the Centre for Climate Finance and Investment. A few final words of wisdom for applicants. What would those be? Perhaps Tomomi, if you start us off with this one.
For this year's applicants?
Yes.
Let me think. Well, I mean,
I can go. I'll go. What are you thinking, Tomomi? Yeah, I think I liked one of the things that Tomomi mentioned around kind of having fun with it a bit. So I think it allowed us to kind of be more critical about the idea. Like we certainly were, you know, in it as a competition, we'll say. But I felt like we went at it to learn from each other, from experiences. And through that, we were able to criticize our idea, I think, a bit more heavily. And so the final product, I think, came out better than what it could have. And I think that was one of the key reasons why we kind of got to where we did.
Nice, thanks very much. So, did you have anything to add?
So I think from my side, it's really important to enjoy it, but also like you will lose nothing, to be honest, like to join a competition. So just try it. I think this is like really, really important. So you don't have to be winning, of course. Like if it's win, it's great, but also like you can just start from like really, really small idea that you don't think it's gonna work, but still building team and building idea is also like a very important part. So just like try it, and I think you will see how it develops.
Nice, fantastic. Thank you very much. And just one final question: what are you both doing now? Where are you? Are you still at Cambridge doing the MBA, or have you now got jobs?
That's
no, so the MBA is over. So we finished up and kind of moved on. We're both in London, different sides of London, but both in London at the moment. Yeah, so right now I was working on a business venture, and I'm also doing kind of consulting work with an advisory firm that looks at the digital built environments called BWise. And so that's kind of the area that I'm in at the moment.
Nice.
So for my side, I'm doing internship with angel investors group based in Cambridge. So they are trying to like get the idea to happen by giving some initial capital. So that's some like screening startups. So which is also maybe similar to impact this climate challenge, because you need to really pick up really good idea to help and support to build. And the other thing is I'm helping to set up an impact investment fund in Japan, and I'm helping them for ESG research and SDGs research. So what kind of ESG criteria that investment firms need to think of. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Fantastic. So it looks like you've managed to take some of the skills and some of the things you've learned from the Climate Investment Challenge forward into your roles. That's great. Thank you very much. I'll leave it to Rafa to wrap this interview up. But thank you very much. It's been lovely speaking with you both, and best of luck with whatever you're doing.
Yeah, great. Likewise.
Thanks.
No, thank you, Kai. And of course, Jeff, Tamomni, we're so glad that you were able to give us a couple of minutes of your time. This is the team that won the Climate Investment Challenge 2020. They submitted the Sustainable Timber REIT idea last year, and you can see now all the advice they have, all the growth they have, and of course, they had fun while doing it. So go to climateinvestmentchallenge.com, check out what we have to offer, and apply. Make sure you apply before the deadline. Thank you once again, Jeff, Tomomi. This has been great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.